Now this is what I call a build. And it's not just any build. It's of course Barb thorns for the lazy one brain cell dads. Or rather, one brain cell more than the average Reddit user. It's truly the most beautiful, easiest, and brain-dead build in Diablo 4. Yep, that's right. Even dumber than spinning against a wall for hours on end. But it's not just dumb and easy, it's also insanely strong with confirmed 155 clears by this lovely Chinese fella. I made it work with piece of shit gear, and it's time for you to do it as well. Let me just check 1 sec when you're supposed to do it. Yeah, that's what I thought. Right about fucking now. So why is this build so insanely bonkers? Well, for starters, you're a literal tank god. Running around with 300,000 life in mediocre gear, you're pretty goddamn unkillable. All of that max life serves one other purpose, though. It makes you deal big damn. Wait, what? Max life equals big damn? That's a new equation I haven't heard before. Well, shit. It's due to strategic challenging shout and outburst, obviously. With these active, all of your yummy maximum life is converted into thorns. Now, the only annoying part about thorns, apart from being completely brain-dead, is that it doesn't follow the typical damage calculations. It can't crit, for example, and we need to be a bit more careful what we use to scale the damage. And with careful, I mean making big brain choices only for the biggest dick damage possible. The most obvious way to scale big damn is to use the razor plate along with a bunch of strength and maximum life. And that's indeed what we're focusing on. On top of that, we also got a lovely new temper introduced in Season 4. Thorns, while fortified. This temper alone allows us to double our thorns with ease, but only when fortified, making it pretty goddamn important. We're also able to temper on another lovely stat in this build, imposing presence ranks. This is how you can scale maximum life to the fucking moon, running up to 500,000 life with decked-out gear. Now, for the gameplay, it's easy as hell, but you may be confused as to why I'm jumping around like a coked-up squirrel. This is due to our leaps spawning massive earthquakes, not only insanely cool, but also important for the rumble glyph. When you have this along with jumping around with earthquake duration on your gear, you can spawn ungodly amounts of earthquakes. And what do you think happens with the damage then? Hell yeah, it becomes massive, not unlike my massive ego. The build does, however, work the best in the hands of someone with more than one brain cell. And why is that? Well, damn. You can stack up enemies with Steel Grasp, of course. This is absolutely bonkers for dealing damage, seeing as we can split all the Thorns damage via the Needle Flare aspect, making Thorns one of the best AoE clears in the game, but unfortunately less strong on bosses without ads, like this fatty right here. Alright, so that's a bit of the basics. Let's check out my piece of shit gear so you can instantly copy-paste and start blasting. Now, there's only one Uber that you're really after in this build, and that's the Coom Bringer. This one is just absolutely bonkers for the max life it provides. But now you're probably like, you're my man? What about Sheko? That thing has shit ton of life too, right? Yeah, well, when I'm unbuffed, I'm getting 4k more life from a regular helmet with imposing presence on it, as well as getting thorns while fortified, which is bonkers for sure. So that's what we are going for. On top of that, we want to slap on the Bull Kathos aspect real good to spawn those earthquakes with ease. Next up is the Razor Plate. This one was cheap as fuck for some reason, and it's pretty nasty. Either way, I'd try to focus on the aspect that grants more big damn, followed by the thorns, of course. For gloves, grab something like this. Max life is the most important, followed by strength. To get your defensives capped, you have the armor roll on the helmet, and you need 2 resistance rolls, and it shall be done with ease. I'm also rocking the inner calm aspect here, perfect for when we're standing still, which we'll be doing a lot, because, well, CBA, moving LOL. Now here's a funny story. My pantaloonies right here used to be triple GA with strength on it, but I had a few too many to drink, and hey, here we are. I accidentally re-rolled the strength greater affix instead of the life. I bricked the thorns while fortified though, so who gives a shit? Either way, slap on aspect of might, and we'll try to forget these pants, shall we? These boots are fucking bonkers though. We will need to get the leap cooldown down to 9 seconds to stack up those awesome earthquakes. What's lovely in this season is how easy it is to reduce the cooldown. This is due to us being able to temper leap cooldown reduction along with getting a bunch of leap ranks on the boots right here. Now for this build, you'll ideally re-roll the movement speed for max life, as you don't really need to run your fat ass anywhere. But honestly man, I just couldn't get myself to re-roll these lovely sneakers. For aspect, we're running metamorphosis. And why is that? Well damn, because we want easy access to unstoppable, of course. It's just that simple, folks. Alright, now we get to the interesting stuff. And first out is the Big Daddy Bonker. Apart from being a 1 GA item, this one is just absolute perfection. The priority for all the weapons are, however, earthquake duration, followed by max life and strength, so I'll need to re-roll it. But still, what a piece. And why earthquake duration? Well damn, the longer the earthquake stays up, the more we can have up at the same time, and that's more big damn in the Paragons, my man. And for aspect, we want the needle flare. This one is just absolutely bonkers for the AoE damage, and it's just not the same without it. The absolute best item for this build, however, is the Coombringer, as it's able to grant up to 50% max life just like that. A must-have if you want the big damn. Other than that, the elements aspect and the earthquake aspect is the way to go for the damage bonuses. I'm also rocking a polearm as it's badass as hell and grants some additional bonuses. I'm also using damage while berserking on the two-hander, seeing as there are no important other stats that we can benefit from. Alright, next up is the jewelry. The most important stats to grab here by far are counter-offensive, imposing presence, and thorns while fortified. The other stats not all that important, and you can go with strength and cooldown reduction, for example. Either way, you slap on the conceited aspect real good and head on over to the rings. It's important that you grab chance to make enemies vulnerable here on one of the rings. Other than that though, strength and max life are the way to go along with brawling cooldown reduction to spam that leap button. For aspects, you want bold chieftains and giant strides as well. Well damn my man, gear and aspects are now done. Let's take a peek at the weapon arsenal before we head into the skill tree. First off, we have Leap. We want this on the polearm. Then we have Frenzy. We want this on the dual wield, because there is no other choice, El Mao. And finally, the weapon expertise. The two-handed axe expertise got nerfed by the start of Season 4, but hey, will you look at that, it's still the only good expertise. Great job, friends. Glad we got that sorted out because it's skill tree a fucking clock, and you know it, my man. First off, basic skills. Frenzy is pretty damn good for this build because it grants us massive damage reduction, and that shit is fine as hell. We then have the core skills, and so we yeet on over to the defensives instead. Imposing presence is simply god tier for this build, and is one of the main reasons we are able to stack so goddamn much max life. Other than that, we use Iron Skin for 3 reasons: Big Barrier, Big Dam, and Big Fortify. Hell yeah. We also pick 1 point in Outburst. I bricked 1 item, that's why it says 3, and max out tough as nails. But why only 1 point in Outburst? It's a bunch of thorns, right? Nah, my man, it's like 300 thorns per rank. We only want it to gain thorns per max life and unlock tough as nails. We then have Challenging Shout, along with Enhanced and Strategic Challenging Shout for massive amounts of thorns. Next up, we have the brawling skills. War Cry? Hell yes. The raid leader skill here is also damn important to keep up us alive, seeing as we otherwise only rely on chugging health potions. We of course also have leap, and our main source of berserking, battle fervor. Every time we leap, we gain berserking. It's just that simple, my man. We then head on over to the weapon mastery skills and grab all of those lovely passives for big damn. Counter-offensive is found here, which is your most important amulet passive. We're also rocking Steel Grasp, along with Enhanced and Fighter's Steel Grasp for easy vuln, berserking, and to pull enemies together. And finally, the key passive. The only one that we can truly utilize here is Unconstrained. I tested a bit of Bleed Thorns, but it was me at best, so we're sticking to the full unconstrained setup here. Well shit, son. Skill tree complete. You must be pretty goddamn awesome for staying here for so long. Drop a sub, will ya? It's obviously worth it, and let's check out my godly Paragons. The goal here is extremely simple. There's but a few legendary nodes and glyphs that we can utilize for thorns, and the rest is focused only on gaining as much max life and strength as possible. Easy, huh? Damn right. Starting us off, we have Executioner's Glyph. This one is massive for the damage, and is one of the reasons we want a polearm. We then go to the Carnage board, where we socket might for the damage bonus and some lovely damage reduction. Here to the left is the Blood Rage board, and you want this one last. Just make sure to cap the node, and then socket Undaunted for the damage reduction. We then have the Warbringer board. As we're not using any Fury, we can't use the node either, which is a bummer, so instead we just socket Rumble and fuck off. This glyph is just bunkers, however, and is a must-have to deal big damn. We then go to the Bonebreaker board where we socket Marshal, also a must-have, or else the build feels like a true piece of shit. It's a real big dick glyph to easily reset our cooldowns, especially Steel Grasp, which we need to gather enemies. And lastly, the Decimator board. We grab the legendary node and socket Revenge for that last amount of damage reduction and multiplicative damage. Yummers. Well shit, son, we even managed to complete the Paragons. What do you say we go get heckin' good now, or what? No? You don't want to do that? Alright. Then what the hell do you want to do? Fine. Rob just out here dropping bangers, man. Let's check out how to get good now. The build is completely brain dead, as I said. You have two modes. The first mode is coked up Adderall Squirrel mode. This is where you just keep jumping like a fucking moron. This is to stack up as many earthquakes as possible, considering it stacks up your damage like crazy. And the second mode is Big 2 Brain Cell mode. This is where you run around and stack up enemies with your Steel Grasp. This is a lifetime of perfected crafting to put the enemies at the correct locations. But you don't give a shit about that, so just grab as many as possible and then let them hit you, and they shall explode with ease. Other than that, you're just pressing shouts and iron skin on cooldown. And you can also use Evade to gain Unstoppable in case you're crowd-controlled. Well, damn. You're actually here for an entire build video? Nicely done. Now fuck off, you goddamn legend.